What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of 4 to 4. This week we have on Michael Saeta. He was a setter out at UC Irvine, where he played 5 years there. After finishing up there, he went overseas to play in France. And he played for Chaumont out there, which you guys may have recently seen. It was just reposted, a clip of him and Taylor Averill all over the Chev page and stuff like that. So go check that out, and you guys will know who we're talking about and talking with. But Michael's a really good dude. It was really fun to talk to him, and he's got a lot of really good energy and a lot of knowledge. So go ahead and listen, learn about what he's up to now, and learn about his time overseas.
Golf in Los Angeles, so I can't really complain.
How'd you shoot?
Sounds like a good life, man.
Yeah, played terribly. Wasn't really great today. But you know what? It's all a learning experience. It's funny. There's a pretty big golfing community in the volleyball scene. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but
I'm sure
some of the beach legends, whether like Sean Rosenthal or some of the Brian Cook or some of the players, Thomas Chesky, Taylor Sanders. There's a crew of people that play golf.
They do, yeah.
Most of them are better than I am.
I was gonna say volleyball has fielded like a large. I love golf too. I play a ton of golf. I've tried to play every time whenever I'm in Europe. Like I try to find a course here. I went and shot like 2 Wednesdays ago or something, and I used to talk to Tom all the time about golf. Actually, whenever we were on games, yeah, he's really good, dude. His handicap's wild. He's a really good golfer.
I'm a 4.6 or right now. For all of the listeners that play extensive golf and know what handicap index is. But
it's not bad.
No, I'll take it. But no, a lot of people do play, and some of those guys are naturals. Like Kavika Shoji and Thomas both played in high school.
Tom and I went to the same high school, and we're good friends. Yeah, so he's a good golfer, man. Like as far as just like a casual golfer goes, he's not really casual. He's pretty good.
He used to golf in Anaheim, and he was good. But I brought my clubs to France when I played over there, which was fun.
Oh, man, that'd be incredible, especially out in France. But either way, well, actually, that's sweet. We'll probably get more into golf then. Man, I'm about to search just like a golf podcast. I love talking about golf. But either way, so for people that are listening who may not know much about you, why don't you give us a little bit of background, or maybe only have seen you on the Chev Volleyball Instagram? Give them a little insight into like how you got started in volleyball or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in South Pasadena, California. Being in California, it made it a little bit easier to be around volleyball. But really my exposure to the game was through my dad. He played volleyball at Stanford when he was in college, and he's played in the last 30-odd nationals every single year. So I used to go and shag balls for him when I was a kid. And I didn't play the sport at first. I was a swimmer growing up, and then middle school and high school came around, and I hated swimming because the water was too cold. And so we transitioned to wanting to put together a volleyball team. And so my dad called up all of his buddies who had tall kids and said, "Hey, let's put one together." And so from then on, I started playing. I was 5'4" my freshman year in high school. So I wasn't very good back then. But stuck with it. Absolutely loved it. Played as it was kind of a back row specialist. Basically, it's the only place where I could play when I was younger. And then when I started growing, I started playing a little bit more seriously. I started getting recruited out of high school. I went to a D5 school in California, which is not great, very, very low. So Zach Lacavera was CIF MVP of Division I, and I was Division V at the same time, which was fun. And then we got to go and play with each other together at UC Irvine. Played there for 5 years. Got my degree and a master's degree when I was there. And I won a national championship my freshman year with Kevin Tilley, Connor Hughes, Jeremy Dano, Scott Kevorkian, Chris Austin, really great team. And then ended up going and seeing some of the final tournaments, but not winning another one, unfortunately, while we were there, thanks to Scherzer. Scherzer, let's see, who can I blame? TJ I can blame, Scherzer I can blame. Really Long Beach Austin. Actually, no, Thomas Jeschke, you're the main problem child.
They are, dude. They were a problem, man. For 2 years, they were a problem.
Him and Jeff really just exploded.
Yeah, Jendrick and Schmalz around the opposite. Yeah.
What was because the last year we left, there was the big goofy opposite, Jevis.
Ricky.
Something like that. Ricky was, that guy was gnarly.
Big Ricky.
Big Rick.
He's a beast, dude. He's a big guy.
They put us to bed a couple times, but we had a couple good seasons. Set while I was there, played opposite while I was there. Ended up being All-American, second team my last year. And then after I graduated, went over to France. Played there for 2 years at a team called Chaumont, which is a good French team. We were the vice champion, so finished second for both years I was there in France, which got us a berth in Champions League the 2 years that I was there, which was really exciting. So got to travel as far as Novosibirsk and play there. Played in Russia 3 times, Italy 3 times. We got to the round of 12 and the quarterfinals the two years we played. So we actually, for a French team to make a run in that far was really exciting. I played a lot more the second year as a setter than I did the first year. First year, I kind of came in as a serving specialist. Second year, set the whole time, and had a phenomenal time. I ended up I got second for the most aces in Champions League behind Inge Pet. But he made it to the finals and we didn't. So that's, but anyways, I had a great run there, and then with the U.S. team, made a couple VNL rosters, went and got a bronze medal playing with Team USA at the World Cup, and then recently, after a couple concussions, retired at the end of or I guess about 3 months before the Olympics.
Wow, that's a good elevator pitch of the career. Yeah, that was perfect.
And now we're here.
Yeah, man, that's sick though. I mean, and going through, like you said, the position change and setter and opposite, playing both at UC Irvine, doing it all. And I've heard, I feel like every time I've always heard a lot of good things about you just from players that we talked to, we're friends with Out of System guys and Michael Ma and them. So we and then the Russells, obviously Peter's typically a part of this, but he's not here today, but Aaron and all them. So we've heard your name tossed around a lot, but I feel like it always gets tied in with a rocket of a serve. And just hearing that, your first year in France, you were there as a service sub. I feel like every time you're put in, it's a rocket of a serve. That's what I always hear.
Yeah, I was always an okay setter and a good server. In that I have the single season ace record, I think at UCI, but really, it was just funny because I'm skinny as shit and I'm not that strong. I was a hard worker, but I was always, for some reason, able to serve the ball pretty aggressively, and I'm lefty, so that helped.
The lefty spin definitely is kind of hard to look at. But what would you say was some of the keys to you having, what made your serve so deadly, if you were to analyze yourself?
Yeah, genetics would be the first thing. True. We have this age-old conversation all the time. There's a guy, Mark Prescia, who's a legend at UC Irvine, all-time kill record holder, and was an assistant coach at UCI for 16 plus years. And he used to always say, because I used to ask him all the time, you think if LeBron James tomorrow played volleyball, would he just absolutely dominate? And he said, I couldn't tell you, because it doesn't matter whether or not how physical you are. If you don't have an arm swing, then you're not going to be able to make it at the high level. And I think that's true. I just got lucky that I had a good arm. I think there is a position, a portion of mechanics of it. There's a mindset to it. To me, I was able to have, a good amount of control on my serve and also be able to again, kind of keep consistent velocity while also changing direction and depth. I had a pretty good cut serve, which was helpful. But for me, my favorite serve was kind of going down the line. I would start kind of in between the 5-6 position on the end line, and then kind of cut it almost back, and that's where I would have most of my aces would be down. But it was I don't know, you think you have a good serve, and then some of these guys are gnarly. I
know the speed.
My best serve was probably 68, 69 miles an hour, which I was really happy with. And then you get
it's quick.
Some of these guys, playing against Leon and just watching him rip a 75 mile an hour serve, it's good for you. Good for you.
That's that genetics factor coming in quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the changeup, the switching of speed and depth of the ball, on his volleyball serve, is such an underrated one to get the passers kind of frazzled, because it's man, I don't know if I gotta be just taking this one that's going close to 70 miles an hour, or if I got to be on my toes and have a bunch of touch on a nice roll shot that's other than that.
Yeah, I was for the last year before I retired, I started to do a new thing where like guys do it right now where they toss up a jump spin serve and give it a float, but it's always kind of like a half-baked serve. I was trying to do it and I would have loved to do it at the Olympics. But really trying to, I think that's kind of going to be the next level of someone that has the best amount of bodily control that can put out a jump serve that's going to be 70 miles an hour and then put a float that's going to stop short on everyone getting it to their platform. And you can't tell until the last second. That is where it's going to be really deadly. And Taylor Sanders, one of the few that's, done it pretty well. But I think there's a lot of room for growth there.
Yeah, that opens up an interesting topic in that I feel like now is kind of this time in volleyball where there's a bunch of like kind of unorthodox things that are starting to kind of creep out. They're like, oh, this kind of works when we do it a different way. Yeah. And volleyball's traditionally been a sport that it's like, this is what your mechanics are supposed to look like. This is how this is also supposed to be really structured. And then all of a sudden there's guys like doing backward swings or doing float serve, jump serves. And, it's just like, all right, well, and then Taylor Averill all the time is posting just kind of like different stuff on his, his page.
Taylor is an odd bird, man. That guy's his own thing.
I love him, man.
Kid. He's great. We played together. I lived across from him in Chaumont, and you wake up in the morning, you make yourself coffee, and you look through your window and see Taylor, and he'd have like a dowel in his hand, and he'd be just like doing twirls and stuff, listening to some crazy music. Just that guy is the most free-spirited person I've ever met, and I love it. He's
phenomenal.
And to your point, it's also really funny. I hope he listens to this at some point because he used to hate Instagram and social media so much. And then
I believe it. That's why he makes it ironic on his.
Yeah, one day he just committed and now he's all about it. I think it's, we used to talk about this all the time. If you can use it to either benefit yourself in a personal career standpoint, or if you can also help others at the same time, like it really does have strength and utilization. So it just comes down to that wasn't really what his initial posting was for, but now he's doing a great job. I really like what he's doing.
Oh yeah. It's awesome, man.
He's like blown up his own brand and everything. Like I saw he's just starting to put out like merch and stuff. He's getting like really into it, which is sick. And we had him on here. He was like our second or third guest. Like we were still like super fresh. This is like a year ago. Like we were still learning the licks and sat like, it's kind of my fault, honestly. I didn't something with exporting. Something when I exported it didn't go right. And at like the 20-minute or 25-minute mark into his episode, it's just like a transformer like having sex. Like that's the sounds that you get. So nothing. And we did like an hour and a half with him, and it was probably one of the most interesting conversations we've had. Like we all like got off when Taylor left, and we were like, "What the fuck was that?" We were like, that was so like bizarre but interesting but cool. Like we were all like very impressed with Taylor, and we were like super happy to get to shoot the shit with him.
Yeah, he's a really gnarly dude. I mean, he's in the best of ways. I mean, he's all over the place, but so committed and really will do anything to get better at the game and to help others around him succeed. Like he's not an easy middle to set, right? He's a smaller middle, right? He's very explosive, runs a really quick ball. But he used to we were all the time talking about how we could run different stuff where he could dominate a game. Right. And honestly, he did for like majority of the season. No one could touch him until I forgot how to set him. Right. It was incredible. I mean, he was great. And I think now one thing that's really great for him is he's healthier than he's ever been. And that's the hardest thing ever. I mean, playing this game, your body just quits on you unless you're one of those guys that just naturally haven't had an injury.
I don't even know how those guys exist. I don't understand. They're doing something right. It's genetics partially for sure, but they're doing some stuff 100%. Right. I
play with this guy. I play with this guy, Javi, and he was a setter on my team the first year in Chaumont. He's 35 years old, 37 now, and still playing in the French league. Guy's never had an injury in his life, right? And it's just, it works for some people. It really does.
It's crazy. It's like
that's me. Totally same. Zero injuries whatsoever.
It's like, have you guys it's been out kind of recently, but like Chad Ochocinco, he always talks about how like the podcast that like he does or something. I don't know. It was a clip all over like ESPN and stuff, but how he would like eat McDonald's and take a Viagra before every game. that was like his diet. And he would like, people would be like, you don't need to go out and like eat like a rabbit. He was like, it's genetics based. And he like preaches by like McDonald's diet.
Dave Smith loves donuts and sweets and cookies and treats. He also takes care of his body very, very well. But you know, I mean, there's you get the Tom Brady and the Chad Ochocinco. I guess you can really, again, it comes down to like Tom's finding a way to get younger every year, which is something else. But,
yeah, crazy.
But it's again, I think there's a huge conversation to be had about, you know, some people just being able to naturally not have the type of injuries others do.
Yeah. It's crazy. We had when I was in college, our setter, Anthony Rivera, he's like a really athletic kid just in general. And he was one of those guys that just like, it would piss me off because like after practice, I'd be like stretching and I'd go and do extra weight stuff and like nagging rehab stuff to make sure that I'd avoid injury. He wouldn't do shit. And then I remember the one time he got hurt, he rolled his ankle. We were playing Ohio State, Scherzen, when they were coming off the championship, I think it was that year when they came off the championship, and he rolled the thing was like a softball. It was massive ankle. The trainer was like, no question, 6 weeks. He was back 2 weeks later playing against Princeton. I was like, this is like, how are you back and healthy? Like it was insane. I
lived in an ice bath, man. My body's happen. My knees. I mean, I'll have to get them done at some point.
Oh man, I was going to ask you how your body's doing.
It's you know, aside from my head, everything's been great. I mean,
did you get some pretty bad concussions or what? You said that earlier.
I got. By the way, Matt, what years did we play? When did you graduate?
I was done in 17, so we were right around the same time.
Yeah, we played.
Yeah, we definitely played a few times
per year. Yeah, I remember very well. But I got hit first in 2018, July 2018. Arvis Green was playing opposite in the national team gym and just hit a ball. I was playing defense, not blocking, and just got me in the side of the head. Felt, kind of go down my neck and didn't really think anything of it. Played the rest of the practice, lifted afterwards, got a drink after, with my girlfriend at the time. And I honestly thought I was fine. Woke up the next morning, a little off, went to the gym. And then before practice started, I was like, I think something's up. And so went back home and was in my bed for about 2 weeks. And then healed up from that. One time concussion wasn't a big deal. Got hit a couple more times after that. Nothing big. Like in France, I got hit before in the quarterfinals of playoffs in a practice leading before, played through it and wasn't that big of a deal. And then in 2019, your boy Jake Langlois decided it would be a good idea to hit me in the head square on. That was right after I got yelled at by Furbringer because I let a tip drop that Jake hit. And then Kyle Ensing, the next play, goes up and leaves the street. And I had stepped up and just got me. Hardest to be able to hit. That one, again, finished the practice, but I knew it was going to act up. And so I ended up probably in my bed for about 5 weeks after that one, where I was just, kind of going out and about and trying to relive normal life. And it took me a while. Recovered and then went to the World Cup after that. Then I started training for the Olympics and my symptoms came back. And so I had to retire and I, didn't play anymore. I haven't touched a volleyball since February when I got hit or when my symptoms came back, and still working through them now. But it's, again, it's not as bad as it could be for sure for some others that have had it, but it's just, not the most fun in the world.
They're not fun. Yeah. And there's like one of the injuries you can't really see. So it's like hard to kind of like get other people to understand at times. You're just like, man, I wish I could go. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like I'm off. It's not the same.
I did every test, you could do. And so all the doctors and USA Volleyball, like sent me to my ears checked, head, brain, MRIs, this, you name it. And I actually ended up finding a doctor out of Canada that during COVID put together kind of an online program that's a really holistic response to how to treat concussions. And that's been incredible. Highly recommend it. Anyone that has any concussion problems. I've actually, with a couple of my friends, Michael Malahi, I don't know if you know about him. He played at USC, kind of our time, Matt, and he has bad concussion problems as well. But he also knows of this doc, and that's been very helpful.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's also like it sucks because that's like obviously one that you can't mess around with. It's a head injury. Some guys are willing to risk a knee or a shoulder and just live life with it bummed out, but a head you can't. You can't get a replacement or get nothing fixed there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff about concussions that are coming out, which is exciting because obviously a lot of research has gone toward this over the past couple of years with football, but it's a different type of hit. There's the CTE, which is the repetitive hits, and then there's the PCS, which is the persistent concussion symptoms. And those are okay, right? You're going to be fine from those, right? So I was told, people always ask me, I was like, oh, my daughter's playing volleyball in high school. Should I not let her play? I was like, no, like unless they're playing in the, professional league in Europe and you're getting hit repetitively all the time, like you don't have anything to worry about. Like theoretically, I could go back and be fine because these aren't repetitive hits, right? 3, 4, 5 times that you get hit isn't going to hurt you as long as you recover in between. So that's kind of where I'm not playing right now because I haven't fully recovered. So it wouldn't really make sense for me to go back. But maybe beach one in like 5 years. Apparently you could play beach till you're like 85. All these.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've joked on the channel because I think I'm done with indoor for sure with going overseas. I'm at this point, but like I could definitely get it back to playing outdoor. That'd be fun.
Yeah, maybe not in Illinois in the next couple of months, but I think
no, not unless I go to the indoor beach bar league,
That's true. That's true. You come to Austin, they've got some beach bars, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's been, I don't know, it's been weird, man. Just living through the whole concussion stuff. It's been funky, but at the same time, like I had such a great career. I was super fortunate. So hard to look at it too. Melancholy, which is not a word, but
yeah. I'm sure you can kind of share the sentiment that like, it just would be nice to be able to go out on your own terms and not like a physical thing keeping you off. Like that's definitely how I felt about it. I was like, man, I would just love to have like a season where I feel good and play and then see how that goes. And then if it goes great, then like, great, I'll keep playing. If not, then like, I'm good. I'll hang it up. But
that's what high school was for when you didn't have any pain. But after that, I would say,
yeah, I don't know what that's like. No. I always say that junior year high school is the last time I played pain-free.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, I will say there's some people who have really dedicated all of the effort and energy in the world into their bodies, and it's paid huge dividends. Like look at a guy like Dustin Watton, right? I mean,
I know.
He's put a lot into this. Obviously, he's very vocal about how he eats and takes care of his body, but I couldn't, recommend it enough to anyone. Like if you can reduce inflammation in your body and speed up the recovery process, it really helps. So people are starting to learn, and we're getting more educated across the board about how you can, again, increase recovery. But I don't care how much recovery you have. Some people, you can't help if you tear an ACL or tear your shoulder or whatever. Those things there's just not much you can do there. It's kind of brutal. But
yeah, definitely is. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And like you were saying that Callaway with like being able to go out on your own terms, it's like especially difficult for people in professional volleyball, obviously, as an American, because you remove yourself from that setting for like 1 year where like you come home and you're not playing in that Euro League for a year to like rehab and recover. It makes it really hard to like work your way back in. Like even when we talked to Taylor, when he had his knee, he said he got like his first big boy contract in Poland is the way he described it. And then blew out his knee, went back to France and had to like get a few more years under his belt to show that like he still had it. And then now he's over in Poland, which is awesome. Like congrats to him. But like, it really like, and for like him, like he's a well-known name, like he would be able to get a contract at least somewhere. You go to like a lower tier league or like a player in like a position that like I'm in, like if I take a year off, like I probably don't get back in the system at all. And like, you're not like, you struggle to even find a contract. Yeah, so it leaves a lot of people.
Put some sort of film out there. I don't know, man. Like the only thing I can think of to get you out if you took time off is if you got invited to the USA gym because you could raise some eyebrows, or if you just were destroying the NBA league or something. Like you were clearly above that competition because it's decent volleyball, So
yeah, those pro leagues are growing for sure in the US. They're looking good. Would you play in one of those, Sayeda?
No, I'm working with some people to hopefully try to start one up here pretty soon. We'll see what happens. But I
like another league or team.
Yeah, it's a league focused on trying to raise a bunch of money to start something. That's a little bit more because we've kind of done everything grassroots to date from an indoor professional league standpoint. And so looking to see if we can try to raise a substantial amount of money to be able to create something that is kind of reoriented the other way where funding comes first. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, with respect to playing in the indoor leagues, you know, I gotta get healthy first, but I don't think my body would like that very much. I think I played at nationals a couple of years ago with my dad. My team was a father-son team, and that's perfect for the rest of my life. I can do that and play with my dad, and then maybe competitive beach one day. But my body playing on those sport courts, that just looks like my nightmare. So, but
especially the long bouts of those indoor tournaments, man. It's like 3 matches a day, and you're like, brutal. Yo, I need 24 hours between each set.
Yeah, it's brutal. But I don't know. I mean, I love the idea of playing. I love the idea as well of giving, you know, hopefully having more opportunity for people in the U.S. to be able to play after college. That would be huge. I think the past year and a half, it was kind of scary for men's volleyball with Stanford shutting down their program. But then now that you have seen that the athletic community, the volleyball community rallied around, you know, behind it and really raised some substantial money to be able to get that back. And then I think you're seeing now as well with the HBICs, you've got a lot more schools that are starting to include volleyball. So I think that there's good growth in the game. And so being able to really just ramp up younger, probably, you know, a younger community around wanting to play. I think having a pro league is really important to do that. So I don't know. I think we've got a ways to go. I think the beach program is going to help. You know, the fact that Valley's just bought the AVP, I think hopefully we can see some real money go behind that. But we need to start paying those guys more. Like there's just no excuse right now. So we need to find a way to make that profitable so that we can get guys like Taylor Crabb 4 times whatever he's making today. Like there's no reason for that.
Yeah, especially with like when you think about a financial perspective, like, I mean, they pull pretty big crowds, they host pretty big main events, and it's not like indoor. You're not rostering 15, 16 people at a salary that's 6 figures. Like it's only 2 guys and then whoever's on their like personal team for like health or whatever. Like it definitely would be a little bit saving the salary cap, obviously.
Yeah. I think that we're getting there on the beach side. I mean, all these events, like I went to a Chicago event recently. The general admission's free, right? You know, you can get as many people as you want in those bleachers, but we got to figure out a way to generate revenue from that. And then obviously come down to media, TV, and advertising. But I think the level is good right now. And so I think that's going to continue to grow. And honestly, Taylor Sander going over to beach probably helps because then you drag some of the indoor community over there and take some eyes over to the beach. But honestly, for volleyball, as long as both sports are growing, we're happy. So, yeah.
Definitely
for progress.
Yeah. So now you said you're getting into like a company with your brother. What are you up to now? Kind of what's the next step now that volleyball's out or not out, but retired?
No, it's out. I was really lucky. My brother. So when I knew after I got hit in 2019 in July, I actually retired for a little bit, for like 3 weeks. And then John Sproul called me and said, "Hey, what if you come to the World Cup, not as a setter, but as a serving specialist? And you don't have to practice in practice. You don't have to worry about really getting hit except for the time where you come and play defense when you serve." And so I said, okay. So I went back. But as I was doing that, and when I went and trained to the World Cup and was getting ready for the Olympics, I knew I was going to retire after that. So to me, it just didn't make sense. I couldn't go get an overseas contract as a setter if I wasn't, willing to play the full game. And so I started working for my brother. He started a company in Austin. It's a restaurant finance company. Which was a startup. I was a 6-person there, and it's a really funky company. I'll save you guys the time from going too deep into it, but we kind of came up with a new model where we provide funding to restaurants in exchange for literally gift cards that we go out and sell to people. And from that, we've gone from like 6 employees to 50. I'm a partner of the firm, and we're growing really, really quickly. Just raised like $80 million. And so we're growing quickly. So I didn't really have any time to transition out of volleyball, rather just kind of from one thing into the next. But it's about as good of a transition as I could ask for.
So as far as that role, like, I don't know, I think it's hard sometimes for athletes that were highly competitive to just like get into the real world and just do a job.
Yeah.
Are you able to kind of keep those competitive things that I'm assuming you're pretty competitive. Are you able to kind of translate into your work, or do you have like a different hobby that kind of helps you, I don't know, just like satisfy that need?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, golf is a portion of that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love golf. I try to do it, as much as I can to, again, be competitive, but it's more so to shut off, right? To get away from the everyday. Look, when you're playing overseas, guess what? You have a lot of free time. When you're working, especially at a startup, you have no free time, right? And so you're always working specifically on one thing, and it's good to be able to shut the mind off, do something like compete a little bit and play something else. So in work, the competitiveness doesn't go away, right? Like it's just like when I was in classes in college, I just tried to win the classes, right? It wasn't about like trying to, get good grades. I was literally competing against the other people in my classes. And so with work, it's the same thing. Like how fast can we grow? What can we do? How can I put, again, kind of that athletic background that I have into my day-to-day job? The only thing is just it gets a little monotonous, right? And so volleyball is exciting. The work life is a little less exciting. And so even the things that on the work front that are or should be exciting, sometimes it's just, it kind of falls short a little bit. So staying motivated can be a little tougher than it is when you're playing professional ball, but it's still thrilling. And I think it's just translating, man. You have to figure out what drove you and what got you excited to play volleyball to do that in your workforce. And I think that's the same thing with, like going from high school to college to pro, right? You always had a threshold that you needed to pass in order to level up, right? And it's the same thing in work. If you don't bust your ass and do a good job, then you're never going to level up in your company. And I think that's the thing that we struggle with from an athletic standpoint is people don't realize that you have to apply the same, really the grit that you have when you're playing in whatever division or league you're in when you're working, because I feel like we get, transition from work, the court to workplace, and people get kind of complacent. So you have to figure out how you can really find motivation to, again, level up.
I also think that you like being able to accept your retirement is what like gives you the freedom to do that. Cause like, I know we've talked with some guys who have done the same. They've stepped away and they've gone to real work, and all of them have been like, dude, it was my time. I was happy to be done. But we also all know, like, nobody we've had on the show yet, but a lot of people that can't let it go or like are struggling to find life outside of volleyball. So I think a guy like you who's like, dude, my body's fucking done. Like I'm ready to like play golf and step into something else. Like I think it makes it a lot better of a transition, especially mentally for sure.
I also like if I didn't have my concussion problems, I was at a point in my career, like where I'd just gone to the World Cup and I, had a phenomenal season in Champions League. I would have probably had the best contract that I could have gotten the next year. And I could have leveled up and leveled up and leveled up. And so, there's definitely a piece of me that's like, fuck, that would have been awesome to see what I could do. But again, I was fortunate to have a transition. But even then, I consider what I had, a great situation where I got to go right from volleyball to a great job. And even for me, it's been tough. Like I still think about it all the time, like what could have been. And it's, to be honest, watching the Olympics wasn't easy. Like, that was,
oh dude, I'm sure, man, you were so close.
Yeah. And so, that isn't anything that, I mean, look, acceptance is huge, but it's still going to be tough, right? You have to kind of channel it and be stoked for the guys that are there. And you have to figure out how you can find ways to incorporate volleyball into your life in a way that can still be meaningful. And that's kind of, what I hope to do in the next couple of years, I guess.
It's getting kind of like getting a little bit long,
a little dicey,
and it just all the barbershops closed, especially in Illinois. And I was like, I'll grow it out one more time. So I grew it. I started growing it out, and then like the end of COVID happened, and then like the barbers opened up, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just kind of leave it going for a while.
You definitely had a clean cut at Penn State. When we played, you guys beat us in 4 at Penn State. My junior year, I played outside for a bit of that game.
Yeah, you were all on a path. The scouting report, I'll never forget it. Might set some, might hit a little opposite, might swing outside. Or like that. What is he gonna do?
That's Nick for you, man. That is David Nick for you. You never know what you get with him.
Yeah, that's how it was. But actually, our last topic before the hair. I thought I had a question in there for you. You're talking a little bit about, you're definitely going to have some regrets. So I thought, what are some of the better things that you cherish about your like overseas career, and maybe some of the things that were a little bit more difficult for you?
Yeah. I mean, overseas is a different experience for everyone.
We talk about it pretty candidly on here.
Yeah, very open.
Some people have gone over there and really struggled. And it's if a lot of people go to places, they don't speak the language. You play on a team where the coach doesn't speak the language. Sometimes you're kind of, like if you go into Paris, you're not playing in Paris, right? You're playing in some little shitty part of Paris, and you're playing on a team that no one really cares about volleyball, and it doesn't feel the same, right? I was really lucky. I got to play in Chaumont, and people would generally say that's not a lucky thing to do because it's a tiny little shitty town, but it was awesome. Like, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's one of the few places that you get to play in Europe where that's all they have there, right? It's volleyball, and there's 30,000 people in Chaumont that absolutely love you. And so you get to walk around like you're a player in the NBA, and people really care about what you're doing. And the coach was great. He spoke English, which was helpful. And both of the times I was there, I had a slew of English speakers. Taylor Averill was there, but also Blair Ban, the Canadian libero, was there my second year. In the first year, I had Brian Duquette and Dan JVD, Jensen Van Doren from Canadian team, right? So I had a bunch of players from, English speaking players, which is great. But for me, I wanted to play professional volleyball ever since I was a little kid. And I couldn't have cared less if I was playing in Norway or Belgium or wherever. For me, it was just such an incredible opportunity. My dad always wanted to play in Italy, started taking Italian his junior year in college, and then tore his ACL, so he couldn't go. And so for me, it was always really cool to be able to kind of do that for him and be able to live that dream that he wanted to. And people always, you say, oh, you shouldn't live your dad's dream, you should do yours. I was like, this is my dream too. This worked out perfectly. Like, I was very fortunate. And again, like living in the town and the club, they really took care of us. Fun story. When I was there, I really started drinking a lot of wine as well. My girlfriend at the time was studying to be a sommelier. And when I was there, I loved wine, and I was in France, so I was going to drink a lot of wine. And right when I got there, I would go to the store every day and buy like a $3 bottle of wine, and I would take notes on it, and I would drink that bottle that night. And then after and I would collect the bottles and I keep them under my staircase. And then after like a month, I was having people over, and I looked, I was like, wow, that really is not a great look. Like, my stairs. And so I had to throw all those out. But little stuff like that, whenever I had a free day, I used to go to Champagne and drink wine, or go south to Burgundy and drink a lot of wine there. And so, I was just trying to take advantage of the opportunities you have and find a way to stay sane in the 7 hours of free time that you have every day.
Sounds like you're a wine connoisseur now. So like, what's your favorite wines then?
Oh man. For me, if I could pick anything, it's two things. One, I love champagne, right? Big fan. If I could go Blanc de Noir, which is 100% Pinot Noir champagne, that's great. But my second favorite would probably be the Côte Rôtie, which is a Northern Rhone Syrah. Those are kind of my two favorite wines. But I work in the hospitality industry now, financing restaurants, and so I've had some phenomenal dinners and drank some great wine over the past couple months, years. And so that's been fun. It worked out really well that I live in France, because got to change that over a little bit. But the lows is a good question as well. I think overseas, there's times where, you've got a relationship and your significant other is back in the States. You're trying to navigate that. Your body's killing you. You're not playing as much as you want to. Like, those times get nice and dark. Not as dark as I was playing in Norway, but it was, I would say my first year, there were probably 2 or 3 months, where it was tough. It was really hard. You didn't know if this was something that you really wanted to continue to do, because it just wasn't what you thought it was going to be. But again, being in Chaumont and going to, playing in Champions League, I got to travel so much, that part of it was really exciting. Got to, again, go to Russia, Italy, Serbia, wherever. And so that added another element to it that was really cool, yet also exhausting, because you travel so much, and it's that part gets a little tiring. Flying Spirit's fun to an extent, then it gets a little cramped.
It's fun the first couple like long trips, because it's still part of the experience. You're like, dang, like I'm like going from this country to that country, or like I'm playing in this big match. And then at the end of the season, you're like, get me out of here.
It's really funny. I mean, that was all two things. One, I'll tell a travel story that was really funny. When we were in Novosibirsk, it was blizzarding. It was negative 33 Celsius outside. And we were traveling from Novosibirsk back to Moscow. And we're looking at the plane at the terminal, and then the guy comes on the loudspeaker, and no idea what he's saying. And then so everyone just kind of groans, which I'm taking to mean our flight is delayed. And then the crew comes out from the underhang and goes up to the plane, and it's one of those prop planes, so it's got propellers. They just start taking one of them off on our plane, and like over the span of an hour and a half, they then put him back on. Like, all right, we're good. I'm like, no, this is not how this works. I'm not getting on that.
Not good.
Plane. So thought I was gonna die that day, but thankfully I didn't.
So you did get on the plane.
God, I ended up. You don't really have as much pull as you'd think. Don't get planes changed, unfortunately. That doesn't really seem to be something that happened. But shoot, I don't remember the next part. The strangest thing for me, which I did not expect when I was overseas, was like right when I got over there and throughout the entire season, you said, I want to win the championship more than anything. And you are 100% for that mindset. Holidays happen. And then you start getting close to the end of the year and you start saying, so if we don't win this game, I'm going to go home a month earlier. Like, and it's really funny because that was never something that you had in college. That was never something that anyone had, but you have, like, I used to get so mad at my teammates because especially the first year, like all these guys, like older guys are like, oh, well, you know, if we don't win, we don't win. It's not a big deal. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why are you playing this sport if you're fine not trying to win? Like, it was hilarious that was actually as big of a deal as it was because people literally don't like there's, you know, there in most of the leagues, you get the chance to go to the playoffs or the playouts, right? And there's that middle pack where you're just happy enough if you're not like one of your teams and you're not going down, you're not getting relegated. So it's perfect because you're out before anyone has to play. And I didn't think that was a sweet spot for a lot of people. I didn't think it was going to be anything that like we would lose in the quarterfinals. Like you play like 3 matches, lose the first one. And team would come in the locker room and was like, 1 more. I was like, no, we need to win 2 more. Like, no, we need to lose 1 more. It was, that was,
I know. I thought that was crazy for me, man. That was definitely something I struggled with my team in Romania, where I just like couldn't stand that we were losing matches. And then after the match, they're like, why are we losing? And then I'm like, this is why we're losing, guys. Because we're not doing this, this, and this in practice. And they're like, yeah, that's probably true. And then practice would roll around. And all of a sudden, we're not doing those 3 things. And I'm like, I'll yell at them. And they're like, why are you yelling? I'm like, because this needs to change. Come on, guys. It's crazy. What are we doing here?
Americans are known for, you know, when they go overseas for work ethic, which is huge when we go over there. Because there's some people that don't have that, which is frustrating sometimes, for sure. You know, work ethic and conserving energy, you kind of find that blend as you play more and more. But it's even that, I mean, again, I'll go back to Dustin Walton. That guy's not conserving energy. That guy is 100% balls to the wall 100% of the time. And it's paid dividends for him. But it can be frustrating when your teammates just don't share the same level of, you know, commitment that you do.
It gets wearing for sure.
That's different cultures, you know. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way though. You know, I mean, that's the whole thing about living in a different country and playing with different people who aren't, you know, your college team, everyone had the same fucking thought process and your coach baked into you since you were a freshman. When you're overseas, it's like, this guy has 3 kids. Like, why? He's not going to listen to anything I say. I love that. I love that about it. It was great.
It is, dude. It is interesting. I had my fair share of like frustration. I mean, I'm only in year 2, but even last year and even points this year. And as I'm sure you know, even just 1 season over here, like 9 months of it feels like an eternity, man. But I remember I had some fucking bubble ups in Denmark last year where like I like stopped a whole practice once and like yelled at our whole team. Like it was just like months and months of me not speaking up to things that were annoying me in training that just eventually overboiled. And, I remember I went on a rant for like 2.5 minutes, like at the top of my lungs screaming. And like I finished it and like to pop it off, I'm like, damn, you probably don't even fucking know what I'm saying. And I like just walked over, I like grabbed my water. I was like, I just went off for like 2 minutes and like half the guys like they know I'm mad. Like they probably don't know a bunch of shit that I'm trying to say or get across.
They caught like 1 out of 5 words. They're like, all right.
All right, someone tell the American to calm down. Like,
yeah, that's how it is. Like, why are you so angry? I'm like, you guys are making me angry.
It's I will say having the beers in the locker room, that's a nice change. That's different.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. That's just everywhere.
It's always so cool.
That's how it's been.
Universal. It's great.
Yeah.
I feel that. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that was frustrating for me being overseas, I had some guys that were gnarly, like Stephen Boyer played with me my first year. Guy's a machine. I mean, he's got some problems on and off the court, but I just wanted to be better for him, I remember at one point we had the second opposite, Asim Bantara. He's in Nice or Wasim, but he's playing now in Poland. I think he's doing pretty well. The guy's a physical freak. I mean, incredible. Ben Patch type. And I remember he used to he pulled me aside one day and he's like, look, man, these sets, I was like, look, Anis, if I could set you the perfect ball every time, do you not think I would fucking do it? Like, what do you think's going on here, man? I'm trying. Okay. Yeah. I want to be better. I want to get the ball in the hole, but I can't. So that was always frustrating. I feel like, and this encapsulated my whole career, I kind of tried to work hard and level up. Right. But I think I got a lot of breaks based on the fact that I could, serve a ball very good. It was very offensive. And so sometimes my setting wasn't quite as good. And so, I made it far enough as a setter and had a great time, and I wasn't bad, but that was always the thing that was frustrating to me, is I always wanted to continue to be better. Right. And I think you need that in order to want to, succeed. But some of these guys just have these innate talents. Like fucking the way Josh sets a ball, comes out of his hands is insane. There's nothing I could do to have his mitts. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Well, you got a few more tools to play with, man. If you're taller, a little bit more athletic, not that the shorter guys are less athletic by any stretch of imagination, but just you have a little bit more, leniency. You're right. You don't need these to just be gold all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're not just focusing on them, then, that's why they get that leg up there, I imagine.
Set up for some cool plays.
Definitely.
Where fake hitting or hitting on two a lot. I mean, I had a Champions League game against, who was it? It was who was it? Jeez, I had 14 kills in a game as a setter, which was gnarly. But then I keep always. What was that?
How many sets did it go?
4, I think.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, damn.
Yeah. It was fun, but then I was also being stupid. I shouldn't have hit the ball that much. But I remember in college at one point, because I was very offensive. I think in college my hitting percentage was 480 or something like that as a setter, which is lower than if you're standard straight dumping. But I remember Aaron Kuby used to come up to me and say, "Hey, stop hitting the ball." And I'll go over to my coach and be like, "Niff, I know you're telling me to be offensive and attack. Kuby over here is not very happy about that." And then he just pulled up the stat sheet and said, "Well, you're hitting higher than him, so you can continue to do whatever you want." that was fun.
Hard to argue that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of movement now. I mean, I think Dustin's posted about it 5 times in the past couple of months, and people are talking about it all the time. Americans have gone tall with setters recently, but some of the best setters in the world are little guys. Tony Uti, no, is not even that big, but DeCecco obviously is not the epitome of athleticism or height. But these guys are gnarly. And so I think, honestly, I love the career I had, and it was great that I could set, but I have a hard time voting for myself as a setter over those guys, because I think, honestly, if you're running an offense, having the guys with the best hands is pretty pivotal. I think you're only going to block 3-4 balls a game on the right side, maybe between your opposite and your setter. If you can run a more sophisticated offense with someone that has great hands and can really put the ball wherever they want, I'd choose that guy over me about 100% of the time. So I think we're starting to see a transition back into that with, obviously we've got the brothers, Gage and Joe. Joe is very good. The guy's got crazy hands. I think he's going to continue to have a long career, and Josh as well. I mean, he's incredible. Even Micah, who's athletic as hell and doesn't play like a small guy. Really bad at card games, by the way. Really good.
Too nice, I imagine, to be good at card games.
really bad at a game we made up called Red Max. But he's also really good with a kendama, in case you guys are curious. But yeah, I think those guys are going to start to see. I think we're going to revert back to setters that are a little bit smaller but have great hands. I think that's going to be a huge transition over the next 10 years.
Yeah, and kind of how we were talking about just transition in the game in general, of what we were saying about fake hitting and doing shit, like mixing in like different styles and stuff that you do. It's kind of like similar to like with the NBA, how they switch or not switch, but how like Steph Curry brought in this whole like launching from the logo, and now everybody's doing it. And like now you see everybody like doing an Ingapeth swing, and that's not even impressive anymore. Like if at the college level, there's like 100 people who are probably doing it. And now the next thing is like coming in and faking a pipe and setting tempo to the side. Like it's crazy how much it's evolving. And like, dude, it just feels like it's going to start going like backwards. Like you're going to see like a 7-foot libero or something. There's going to be some great logic behind it, or like, I don't know. It's very cool. It's very interesting. And I like how much more creativity there is getting with it. Cause I know when I was growing up or younger, but it was always like the same thing, you know, like setters were this, hitters were this, boom. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's really no creativity. So it's cool to see that coming out in the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think like Steph Curry has been, you know, ball handling is going up for youngins, but stupid shots are going up as well.
Yeah.
It is the same thing.
That's what I want to watch, though. Like, if I'm paying to watch something, I want to see Curry drain a half-court shot like he's pulling up a free throw.
my mind thinks, right, what I go to is, okay, well, if Steph's doing this, then what are the 10-year-olds doing, right? What are the 15?
Oh, they're launching.
They're launching, right? So ball handling might go up, right? Because the guy's got like crazy.
Yeah.
Ball handling skills are insane. But I think what we're seeing in volleyball is you're starting to see more creativity. Again, it'll translate in the younger age. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's good because even on the beach, right, you're starting to see, you know, Anders and Sorum, they're starting to run really creative offenses on the beach, right? Quick sets, people are jumping, hitting, fake hitting, whatever. In indoor, you're now, I mean, the offense that we ran and the blocking schemes that we ran on the national team were nothing like I'd ever done before. And it mostly started out of Argentina, right? Where you were doing all of these different things and your defense was set up behind it in a way that never was before. The offense that you're running in the middle, you're now running like 6 different sets that all look the same, right? Mm-hmm. Between a drift and a push and a straight one. And it's, you know, really interesting how we're starting to see a little bit more sophistication and speed come into the game. I hope that's a lot of pressure on setters, though. And setters as kids suck. And so I think that's going to be tough, right? Because I don't think you can ask that much. Like setters are the showboaters of the club game when they're, you know, 15 years old.
Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We're the worst. But to like really run the type of offense that you're talking about in, you know, college and professional, I think, you know, like fundamentals, I think is really important. So I like creativity. But I don't want the Steph Curry shooting threes coming into it where it's like people are, you know, trying to run all the stupid stuff instead of actually just, you know, getting down the basics and really figuring it out.
I think the issue if we started going kind of away from that in volleyball is like, I just don't know how these kids are going to start getting volleyball IQ up, because that's really like that biggest thing slacking right now is, can they think for themselves, like out on the court while they're playing? Of course, the coach can go ahead and tell them after the fact, but can they really make that adjustment while they're playing? And right now the answer is usually no. Yeah. So, and I think that would get worse if we weren't sticking to the fundamentals and like understanding how the game's kind of meant to be played.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in baseball, you've got some pitchers call their pitches, some coaches call pitches, right? Like, I think it's the same thing in volleyball. I would always emphasize starting with the players being the ones to do this, because that develops the level of sophistication, right? You learn from your mistakes. Yeah. I think coaches, you know, I think we're starting to see more and more coaches come into the game, which is great. And people are getting momentum behind that, hopefully starting to pay a little bit more for good coaching. But then you've got, you know, I want the coach to kind of take a step back in a way as well, you know, and let the kids kind of figure out how to, again, develop that volleyball IQ. But we have good coaches, but the fact that the Furbringers got fired from Long Beach, I don't know if you guys read up about that at all, but that's BS. Matt Furbringer is an incredible coach. I don't know his wife very well, but any program to not have them as coaches, I don't know what the problem was. I don't really know anything about it, but to me, that's BS. That guy's coached at the highest level and done an incredible job.
Yeah, I don't know much about it either. I don't know much about it. I heard about it. That's about my extent to knowing it, but that is very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those posts where he said something last week, and it was just like, hey, we were blindsided by this. You know, they let both of us go at the same time. I think my guess, I didn't read too much into it. I could probably do more due diligence before I talk too much about it. But my guess is they had a bad start to the year, right? We're talking about mid-season firing. I think women's volleyball is now starting to grow to the extent where it could be like a football, where if the coach isn't doing it, they're gone. Now one of the revenue generating sports, you got 12 and a half scholarships for women's volleyball, and you've got 4 or 12 versus 4.5 on the men's side. So, people care a lot about how their teams are doing. And so something must have happened. I don't know. But to me, that was a bonehead move by an athletic director who really didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, it'd be tough to pull the trigger quick on volleyball, because I can't imagine there's too many athletic directors that are like understanding the game, Yeah. Oh, well, they don't seem to be doing well. Don't really care what's going on. Doesn't matter. It must be the coach's fault. Okay, well, you do that and see how that works out for you. The next coach you bring in.
Yeah, seriously. But there'll be a program that'll be lucky enough to snag the two of them. There's a club program as well, which has done very well. So I'm not worried about them, but it's I don't know. Volleyball's weird, man. It's such a small community too, right? Like
it's
crazy.
I kind of like that, but it's also has its, it's got pros and cons, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
How's Matt? How's Ronnie doing overseas? Is he healthy? Aaron Russell?
How much do you know about it, Brandon? I mean, Brandon's good friends with Aaron as well. I think they're doing well.
Yeah, he's doing good. I actually talk to Ron like every day, pretty much, because we're obviously in the same time zone. He's like a groomsman at my wedding and stuff. So So he actually, I'm dead serious. He called me 30 minutes ago, and it's like late over here. So which means he probably wants to play like games or something. Play
Age of Empires. We played Age of Empires a little.
He loves Age. He can't get me on it though, because I have a Mac, so I don't have that. Him and I have a Switch though. He gifted me a Switch for like a wedding gift, groomsman gift. So I'm playing that with him a lot. But
that was not for you. That was for him.
Oh no shit! Oh no shit! Like that's so odd. He even told me before he sent it. He was like, "Yeah, nobody plays Switch. Nobody ever has it." So and then he wouldn't tell me what it was, and then I get the package. I'm like, okay, I see why you bought me this, or why you gifted me this. But he's doing good, man. He's been feeling really healthy from what I've talked to him about. Piacenza's been doing good. They just lost last night to Monza 3-1, but that was their first loss. They were top of the Italian league. They were 4-0. They have a stacked squad this year. Dude. They got a bunch. They got 2 or 3 of the starters from France who won the Olympics, the setter, the lefty outside, a couple other guys. So he's feeling really healthy. He's been doing good. He hasn't been playing much, but I think it's because of the international rule. They have Max over there and all the French guys, so they have to kind of choose and pick and plug when they get to play Aaron or when they get to put in Max. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of that kind of being played into it. But he's doing good. He's feeling healthy. He said his hip's not bothering him at all anymore. I never hear him talk about his hip. Like he seems 100% back.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
he's had his fair share of injuries, to say the least, and I hope he's doing well. I always really liked Aaron. Very, very nice guy, very humble guy, and he's obviously just a freaking baller. Like he's so. Ever since he was a kid, ever since he was playing middle, he was.
I know, man. Thank God he got out of the middle.
I know.
You want to talk about?
He still would have been a beast. He still would have been a beast in there, but like, thank God he got out of there.
Talking about getting concussions, there probably would have been a couple more added if he stays in middle.
Yeah, 100%.
Beast.
He's very good. Is Matt, is Tom healthy? I think I've been seeing him play. But...
Tom's healthy. Also, man, just he went through the ringer as well. Just like severe injury after severe injury, but he's finally healthy. He's out in Italy doing well.
Good. I was there at the game because he obviously tore his ACL, came back, and then we were in Japan, and he just goes for a flipper and sticks, and it was just the most unfortunate thing. It was like second game back. It was unbelievable. It was just that wasn't even one where it was like, my knee, didn't hold up. It was just a freak injury. It wasn't his body being brittle or anything. It was just unlucky. Say we did win the point. I'm pretty sure saved that ball, which was great, but gnarly. Just gnarly, but that's awesome. I'm glad he's doing well. Videos of him.
I'll let him know you're checking up on him for sure.
Please, let him know I'm ready for golfing when he comes back.
Absolutely, man.
He'll have to take a trip out to Austin. We'll have to do something. I want to go where you guys are and go golf at his club. But it's been. Yeah, I miss those guys. I hope everyone's doing really well. I mean, it seems like the Americans have done really well this year. TJ's having a great year from what I could tell. Playing with Taylor, and Micah, I've talked to him every once in a while. Both Christensen and Ma'a both doing well. It sounds like over in Kazan for Christensen, which is new, and then Micah finally taking the jump to go to Poland. He's gotten a couple MVPs and matches, and he's a gnarly guy. He's good. He's
sick, man. We had him on too. He was awesome to have on, dude. He's been the best for stories, which I wanted to get your take on.
His stories are crazy.
I wanted to see if you had any good ones, but he told us a standoff that he had at UCLA, which we actually have on our YouTube and stuff if you wanted to listen to it. And then also his banana challenge with Max Holt.
Oh, the banana.
Yeah.
We have the picture
of the room with
him.
I roomed with him, and that was the gnarliest smelling thing ever. That was unbelievable. That was literally we're just playing cards in the back of a van, and literally comes out of nothing. Literally it was Matt Anderson and Max Holt versus Micah and I, and we would play good card games on every bus ride. And one day I think he just finished a banana, and then he like had it in his hand as he was leaving, and Max just like said something. Don't even know. Well, I'm keeping my hand, and it was days, and it was unbelievable. Taped it on, like there was some bending of the rules, but he taped that thing on, and like he cut off a piece of it instead of the full banana, which we can get into the
scrutinities.
But it was hilarious. I mean, that's who he is to a T, right? He'll just do something for no reason, and it's going to be what he's going to do for the next. It could be months, but he's one of my favorite humans. Incredibly talented, obviously, and crazy in every way. But I'm really stoked to see him getting the opportunity to play in Poland. He worked hard and he had a good run in France playing for Poitiers. But it was time for him to make that jump, especially after not playing in the gym this summer after not really wanting to and wanted to do other stuff. He then went out, and so far, I mean, he's a fucking gamer. That guy could not play for 6 months and step into a gym. And,
he just loves it, man. You can tell he loves playing, like in a rare way that not everyone can hold on to that. Like he's just like the same way when he was a kid. It seems like
he's got that switch too. Like I've seen him because I played him in when they were doing their whole tour this summer. They were in Maryland for a bit, and we set up and we did like a little scrimmage match against them to prepare for Pottstown. And actually, two things come from this. One, when you see him like because it was me, Peter, and then Lucas, this younger guy who plays at USC right now that played against the Worsleys and Micah. And it was close, and we started to get a lead, and it was like the first set. So like I'm sure for them, they were kind of like, dude, we're about to do like a whole tour this whole summer playing these grass tournaments, and we're playing against like Peter, who's like old and hasn't played him forever, like me, random guy, and then random like college kid. So, and dude, Micah, I just saw like a click, and like he snapped. He like popped off and like ended up clearing. I mean, and then you add in, Joe and Gage too are sick. Like they're going to carry their weight. But then the other thing is we're sitting there and we're setting up, like there's this huge park in Maryland called Centennial Park. I got like baseball fields and stuff. And we set up in the outfield there to play grass. And there's a random like batting glove on the ground, like a right-handed batting glove. Micah puts it on and plays like the whole first set or two, like wearing a batting glove on his right hand.
Sounds about right. He can make anything out of a game too, which is great. I mean, we used to just run around the gym, like when we were like not playing that much in the national team gym, we would run around with a rag, clean up sweat, and he would just make a game out of it. Like it was literally everything in that guy's life. He can find a way to make it humorous or exciting or whatever.
For sure.
And it was fun. I mean, I loved rooming with him, and we spent so much time together when we were playing the World Cup with the national team. So he's the kind of guy I call every month just to check in, see how he's doing. Really couldn't say. And talk about volleyball IQ. I mean, him and the Gage and Joe, those are three of the highest volleyball IQ guys that we have in the country, which has been cool to watch, incredibly frustrating to play against. But thankfully I didn't have to bet. I am so mad though. Like I wish I would have gone to Stanford or UCLA at times so I could run a 6'2" with Micah or James Shaw. One of those would have been really fun. You
and Shaw running a 6'2" would have been not fun to deal with.
It would have been a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what he can do on the beach, man. I mean, he's
a big dude.
He's a big dude.
He's a big physical specimen, that guy, for sure, man.
Yeah, so I'm, I think he got to stay healthy. I think beach is easier on the body, of course. And, he just had a surgery, but he's going to get back out there. And he's the kind of guy that's going to find a way to make it his career and do a great job. And hope to see him on the AVP successful. Just like I hope Taylor Sander has a great career. I think Micah, my guess would be Micah's going to be on the beach in 3 years. I think that'll be the case.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to have another.
If not within 3, eventually.
Yeah, sure. That guy, he'll play forever. So
yeah.
I'm stoked for him. But small community, it's crazy. It really is.
It's a lot of fun, man. It allows us to do things like this, man. Just like call a guy that we played a few times back in the day, and just have an hour and some change conversation like it was nothing ever happened.
Absolutely. It's fun, man, especially now that I'm out of it. It's fun to kind of take a glimpse back in, see how everyone's doing, and tell stories. That's really all it is.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a blast. Absolutely.
It's been great. I appreciate you guys having me, and anytime. We need more of this stuff. I think, you guys doing this, I think out of system guys, they're starting to build that up as well. I think you see, again, we talked about Taylor and Dustin, starting to really put a good presence behind the game where people can actually buy into something. And if you want to buy some physical merchandise in the form of Taylor Averill's mustache, you can do that as well on a t-shirt. But I think this is great. I freaking love it. I'm stoked you guys asked me to come on. To me, this is the kind of stuff when you were younger, you always wanted to like hear from people that you watched and people that, like, when I was younger, since my dad played at Stanford, we used to always have the Stanford team over to our house when they played against SC, because we live in Pasadena. It was like 20 minutes from USC. And so ever since I was a kid, they would come to my house and like dunk on my basketball hoop. And I was like 5 years old, and it was the craziest thing ever. And when I was in like my freshman year in high school, Kavika Shoji gave me a setting lesson in my backyard. And it was like, dude, that's so cool. But I never got I didn't get to hear Kavika speak on any podcasts or really have a presence in anything that was in it. What I saw, I didn't get to meet him until I played on the national team and played with him. And so it's cool. I think glimpse into what these guys are doing, especially as we're trying to grow the sport, is really important. So stoked you guys are doing this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we love doing it too, like getting insight and hearing out and seeing just how people are. Like you said, like Taylor and Micah are like very unique people and very cool. And it's like to get to see, you don't see that side of them ever. And you wouldn't know that exists unless they do something like this. So it's cool, man. It's sweet. And you were the same way, dude. You were awesome to have on. You were seriously a ton of fun.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks. And anytime, again, happy to do it. You guys got to have Micah back on. That guy's got enough stories for everyone.
I'm sure we will, man.
Oh,
he's a great dude.
Definitely bring him back on.
Brandon, get some sleep, man. I know it's late where you are.
Yeah.
Tell Ronnie and everyone I say hi, and have a good rest of the year over there. Stoked for you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Matt, appreciate the time, man. Good seeing you again, even though you look a little different than